Start ಆಯ್ತು. Welcome all. I think you can hear my voice and you can have a visual of the flower. I hope you all can see the flower image on the screen. I hope you all can see the flower image. As soon as you enter, please type your names. Now I just shared the screen so I can't see your chats. Later I come to know who is entered. First of all, I welcome all to this live session. Yesterday we discussed about reproduction in the plants. I just continue with that concept. Now you are seeing the image flower. And you can find many parts of the flower. The oral parts like sepal, petals, and rhizium, all these are connected to thalamus. These are neatly arranged on thalamus. Petals, sepals, no role in bringing up reproduction in the plants. Petals are attractive parts which attracts the insects. In turn, insects bring pollination. Even I said what is pollination yesterday, but because I hope everyone can hear. Please type if you have any problem. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Just now I said ovary comprise ovules. Ovules are the female gametes. They are very important. The other one is stamen. Stamen is male reproductive structure comprising anther and filament. Anther comprise yellow dusty powder called pollen. These pollen comprise male gametes. Now, if the pollen transfers from stamen to the stigma with the help of insects or with the help of wind or with the help of water, anyhow with some assistance, pollen transfers from stamen to the stigma. This is bisexual flower. Hibiscus flower is bisexual, where the male and female gametes are found in the same flower. Hence they are called bisexual. Now, think that the pollen has been transferred from the stamen to the stigma. This is known as pollination. The transfer of pollen from the stamen to the stigma of the same flower, then it is self-pollination. If the transfer of pollen from the stamen to the stigma of different flowers of different plants, then it is referred as cross-pollination. Now, I hope you all understood what is self-pollination and cross-pollination. If the transfer of pollen from the stamen to stigma of the same flower of the same plant, then it is self-pollination. If the transfer of pollen from from the stamen to stigma of different flowers of different plants, then it is called cross-pollination. Even we discussed which brings more variations. Either it is self-pollination or cross-pollination. Definitely, cross-pollination is very important to bring more variations. Okay, this is about self-pollination and cross-pollination. This is very essential in order to replicate the plants. What do you mean by replicate? Increasing the number of the plants. Very simple. If someone asks you how the plants are increased, the answer is very simple. You will say it as by the seeds. Sometimes you will say by stem cuttings. And many times you say by separating the bulbs, by the tubers, by the suckers, by the runners, etc. Yes. In all these methods, we see only asexual method of replication of plants. There is very little scope to find the variations among the plants. Asexual in the sense producing identical new individuals. Asexual in the sense producing new individuals which are almost identical to the parents. Very little scope for the variations. When I said seeds, through the seeds in the sense that is output of sexual reproduction. Now till now we studied androecium and gynoecium. That is, the pollen drops on the stigma. Stigma has sugary content that helps the pollen to germinate. The pollen germinates to form pollen tube, and that enters into the style and reaches ovary. This is the picture where you can see the pollen grain. One pollen grain started pollen tube. The other one has already reached the female gamete. The sugary content present in the stigma provides nutrients for the pollen to germinate. It produces pollen tube. Among many pollens, only one will reach the female gamete. Not all the pollen, only one will reach the female gamete. Now you can see the ovule down. Inside the ovule, you can find an egg cell or germ cell. Egg cell or germ cell that will have female gamete. Pollen will have male gamete. The pollen send a male gamete into the embryo sac. Embryo sac is a place where it comprises egg cell. Egg cell is nothing but female gamete. Even that is also called as germ cell. Now the pollen tube send the male gamete into the embryo sac, and that male gamete fuses with female gamete, the egg cell. So they form zygote. This is known as fertilization. What is fertilization? The fusion of male and female gamete to form zygote is known as fertilization. Soon after fertilization, ovule forms seed and ovary form fruit. Now remember, after fertilization, ovule forms seeds. Ovary form fruit. This is how the further generation goes on. That means the fruit is almost edible part. We human beings, animals will consume the fruit. And the seed, very important, which helps in replication of the plants by sexual mode of reproduction. I hope now all of you come to know how the plants replicates. The plants replicates by two ways. One by asexual mode and asexual mode are in different forms. We already discussed, that is by binary fission, multiple fission, fragmentation, regeneration, budding, vegetative propagation and spore formation. All these are the different modes where asexual reproduction takes place and helps in replication of the plants. And when you go deeper, vegetative propagation helps a lot, right? What is vegetative propagation? Any part can develop into plant. Any part. Any part in the sense root. From the root we can develop, example, chrysanthemum. Offsets are separated and grown. And by leaf propagation, Bryophyllum colloncoi is otherwise called mother of thousands. It produces thousands of plants by leaf. So, Bryophyllum is very good example for leaf propagation. Colloncoi are thousands of mother. Very good in bringing up leaf propagation. When you just take a bit of leaf, you just place on the soil, very soon it develops many plantlets. That is known as leaf propagation. And even by suckers, stolon, offsets, runners, these are the some of the way where asexually we can produce or we can replicate the plants. But sexual mode is only one, that is by the seed formation. Now, what is important for sexual reproduction? Flowers. Flowers are the major part which takes part in production of seeds. And in the flower, the pistil and stamens, and this image shows how the fertilization takes place. After fertilization, I told the ovules form seeds, ovary form fruit. Like this, the plants produces the fruits. Now this is another image. First, let me know which plants produces the flowers. The flowers, the beautiful, attractive parts, the flowers always produced only in angiosperms. Remember, angiosperms. Angiosperms produce flowers. The flowers produce seeds. Now, angiosperms divide into two types, monocots and dicots. Monocots have only one cotyledon, example ragi, wheat, rice, etc. Dicots have two cotyledons, like all type of pulses. All the pulses we use for preparing sambar, all are the example for dicots. Okay, this is, what do you think, it is monocot or dicot? Yes, you guessed correct. This is dicot because there are two cotyledons. The seeds, when you provide water for the dried seeds, they germinate. You just take some amount of ragi seeds and spray on the soil and spray the water on that. Very soon you find the ragi germinates. Do you think that ragi is visible? No, ragi is not visible because it lies within the soil. You just pluck the plant, then you can see the ragi along with the very baby sapling. But always it remains within the soil. Remember, monocots, seeds during germination remain within the soil. And think of tamarind seed. Tamarind seed, when you just throw it on a soil and when the water is provided, it germinates within few days, couple of days, it germinates and produces the plant. And where you find the cotyledons? Where you find the cotyledons? Yes, the guess is right. It is above the soil. The cotyledons in the dicots remains above the soil. Yes. When you observe the saplings, by seeing the leaf, you can differentiate it as monocot or dicot. How? Yes, very simple. Monocot leaves are elongated. Just recall, the leaves will be very long and they show parallel venation. And you just observe the mustard seeds. Do you think that mustard are monocots? Definitely no. Mustard is a dicot. It is not monocot. It has two cotyledons. When you place the seeds, it produces the sapling where the cotyledons come outside from the soil. That means it is dicot. When you see the leaf shows reticulate venation. Reticulate venation. This is how we can differentiate the monocots and dicots with the help of venations. Monocot shows parallel venation. Dicot shows reticulate venation. When the seed germinate, you can find two important parts. As you see in the picture, the part which grows above the soil is known as plumule. Remember, plumule. Plumule will develop as shoot system. Remember, the plumule develop as shoot system. And the other one is radicle. Radicle develop as root system. So this is very important. Which part will develop as shoot system? Plumule. And which part will develop as root system? Radicle. Excellent. So this is how a seed will develop as a new plantlet. So this is the image, shows binary fission. This is the image, shows multiple fission. Binary fission is the one which develops into two new individual organisms from one parent cell. There is no male and female gametes here. It is asexual mode of reproduction. This is also asexual mode of reproduction, where a single cell divides into more bits and each bit develops as a new organism. This is known as multiple fission. And these are different modes. The first image shows runners. By separating the runners, you can grow the plant. The second image showing bulbs. By separating the bulbs, you can grow the plants. By the tubers, separate the tuber, and tuber will develop as a new plant. And the fourth diagram, as you see, by budding. Budding is a process. External growth takes place on the organism. When it matured, it separates and grows as a new organism. That is budding process. And the last one is binary fission. That is, one organism develop into two new individual organisms by dividing into two equal halves. Clearly you can see that runners are the part from aerial part, from the shoot. Runners always comes from the shoot. Now you can see stolons comes from the root. Stolons from the root. Bulbs and tubers so easy to propagate. If you grow one bulb, it divides into many bulbs within the soil. Separate the bulb and grow it as a new. And tubers. Potato is very good example for tubers. Onion is good example for the bulbs. Rhizomes is other mode where the plants are easily propagated by the rhizomes. Helicornia, beautiful helicornias will propagate by the rhizomes. So this is the image how the sexual reproduction takes place in the plants. That is by male reproductive structure, that is stamen, and the female reproductive structure, that is pistil. And I already told you how the fertilization takes place. So flowers are very essential for bringing up sexual mode of reproduction in the plants. Bisexuals, where male and female parts are present in a same flower, and there are other types, unisexual flowers. That means male flowers are separate, female flowers are separate. The stamens are found only in the male flowers, the pistil is found only in the female flowers. Where you find such flowers? Watermelon, papaya. There you can find unisexual flowers. So this is how the cycle goes on repeating. The plant produces flowers. The flowers produces male gamete and female gamete. The female gamete receives the male gamete by pollen tube. How? The pollen drops on the stigma by pollination. It develops pollen tube. Pollen tube enters. Enters inside the embryo sac and reaches egg cell, and fusion of male and female gamete takes place, and that develop as seed in future. That means the ovules produce seeds, ovary produce fruits like this. The flowers will develop into fruits. After having the fruit, delicious fruit, we throw the seeds. Remember, only the green will solve the climatic change happening in the nature. And how you are going to increase the green? Don't throw the seeds after consuming the fruits. Store the seeds, and when you go from one place to another place through the bus, through the vehicle, or any public transport or private transport, if you come across any plain areas without any plants, you would just throw the seeds in that particular area. When the rainfall is showers are brilliant, definitely the seeds will develop as a trees. So remember, don't throw the seeds. Preserve it and place the seeds where there is only plain area, so that this is the dedication, your job, in order to increase the greenery on the earth. Now when you place the seed, immediately don't germinate. What is required? It required sunlight, temperature, and the water. With the help of these three things, the seed will germinate. When the seed germinates, new plantlet, new generation will be arisen. You can see the germinated seed. There is two parts. One is green part, one is yellowish part. The green part is called plumule. The yellowish part is called radicle. I hope you can recall what these two parts will transforms into. The green part, plumule, will develop as, yes, shoot system. The radicle develop as root system. And that develop as a new plant. So like this, the plant replicates. So these are the some of the asexual mode of reproduction. You can see leaf propagation, offset, rhizomes, tubers. This is how the binary fission takes place. That is, one single cell divides into two equal halves. That is known as binary fission. This is how the fertilization takes place. Before fertilization, I said pollination is very essential. The pollination by the insects, by the wind, by the rainfall, by the touch of the human beings, by the snails, etc., etc. Different agents will help in bringing up pollination. Now, which pollination helps in bringing up variations? This is very, very essential. Yes, cross pollination brings up variations. Okay. This is a part which take part in sexual reproduction. These are the different types where asexual reproduction takes place. Now tell me which is very important in bringing up variations, either sexual or asexual. Yes, compared to the asexual, this sexual reproduction is very important to bring up variations. The flowers are very important to bring up variations. Okay, I said flowers are very essential to bring up sexual reproduction. Now, how the sexual reproduction brings variations? The flowers, while preparing the gametes, synthesizing the gametes, they undergo process called meiosis. During meiosis, what is meiosis? It is cell division. It is a kind of cell division. Where do meiosis takes place? Only in the pistil and in the stamen. Nowhere. Nowhere takes place. Only in the pistil and the stamen. There you can find meiosis. And rest of the plant? Yes, rest of the plant like shoot, root, leaf, stem, branch, everywhere you can find mitosis. What is mitosis? Again, it is a cell division. Mitosis is a process where a single cell divides into two equal halves. That's all. No changes. One single cell divides into two equal halves. That is mitosis. But meiosis is entirely different. Meiosis, where it occurs only in the pistil and stamen. That is male and female reproductive structures. There you can find meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, where you can find the combination of DNA. You can find the combination of DNA. What is combination of DNA? Obviously, there will be exchange of DNA content. Exchange of DNA content. And when the DNA content is exchanged, then you can find definitely variations. Now tell me, variations are found only in sexual reproduction by bringing up the changes in the DNA. By bringing changes in the DNA. So, if you want to bring variations, so variations not in the flower, it is in the DNA level. When the DNA will be changed during meiosis, this is only the source where you can find more variations among the plants. Okay, now let me discuss, variations are very essential or not? Yes, variations are very essential. Why? We know the environment, don't adjust for the changing environment. Definitely you will have disorders in your health, weakness, and definitely the nature will remove you as you are not adjusting for the nature. In the same way, the plants also should adjust for the nature. If the plants doesn't adjust for the nature will remove the plants. That plants don't survive. That plants will become extinct. Extinct in the sense they completely removed from the nature. Only we'll study in the books. We won't find in the nature. That is extinct. So, this variations helps them to adjust to the nature. Always variations are very helpful for adaptation, so that we can adapt for this nature. And these variations are always from the sexual reproduction. I hope everyone heard my voice. Please tell me, did you find any problem? Please chat and tell me. Grow more plants. I welcome you. Thanks for your entry. Terrace garden. Hi ma'am. A very warm welcome. Okay. If you have any doubts in any concept, please chat and tell me. I'll explain it once again. Okay, please chat and tell me which part is difficult. Any part is difficult that I'll repeat. Please chat and tell me which part is difficult. Priyanka, are you there? Please tell me which part is difficult. Kirti, are you there? Tell me which part is difficult. Gayatri, any doubts? Manasa, any doubts? She already started to call directly to me instead of watching. Tell me whether any doubts in replication of the plants. Priyanka, are you there?